We planned this thing in November thinking that we would not have the rain that we're having, and as I told people that if we are in another drought, just ask Joe to plan another outside event, and I'll take care of it. But thank you so much for being with us tonight. We have a wonderful crowd. We are here to celebrate George Jenkins and his appreciation for art. He was keenly aware how art, architecture, and design all play a valuable and distinctive role in the world of business. The Tax Collector's Office is honored to be located at one of Mr. George's creations, and we have worked very hard to bring this building back to life as he saw it when it opened in 1953. Today is another great opportunity to recognize more of Mr. George's vision of art and business by unveiling the Goddess Murals. You'll be hearing a little bit more about these murals' origins in a moment. At this time, I'd like to recognize some individuals that are here with us today whose involvement made this building and this project a great success. Ed Crenshaw, Publix Chairman of the Board of Directors. Thank you, Ed. Barney Barnett. Barney Barnett, Vice Chairman of the Board of Directors. Thank you, Barney. I've not seen Tina Johnson, but I believe she is here. Tina, thank you so much. She is the public advisor to the CEO. Jeff Chamberlain, the Publix Senior Vice President of Real Estate and Facilities, here in the back. And Jennifer Bush, the Publix Historian. Jennifer. In addition to the Tax Collector's Office, there were two very important founding funding partners that made this building possible when we opened in November of 2013. And I want to recognize them as well today. Lakeland City Commissioner Stephanie Madden. I believe that Commissioner Scott Franklin is here, but I have not seen him yet. So Scott, thank you very much. And a special thanks to the City of Lakeland and the Community Redevelopment Agency who helped fund a part of this building. So we appreciate their efforts. Also, I'd like to thank the Board of County Commissioners for their involvement when we built this building, for their contribution. I'd also like to thank Mark Kifkart. Mark, I know, is here somewhere. Mark is the facility manager for the Board of County Commissioners. And his love of this building extends about every other day. Mark, it's an old building, so it's one of those buildings that requires a tremendous amount of love and tender and care. And Mark and his people have worked very hard to keep this building as it is today. At this time, I would like to ask Gregory Fancelli to come up to the podium for some remarks. Now, as Gregory is making his way up here, I wanted to share with you that this unveiling would not be possible without Gregory's passion and funding for preserving this unique public history. I met with Gregory a little over a year ago to discuss the possibilities of moving the Searstown murals to this location. But because of the size of those murals, it was not possible. But he told me about the Goddess murals and his desire to bring them to Lakeland. His commitment to me making this happen never wavered. He was not only the idea and the provider of the funding, but he was also involved in the day-to-day aspects of making this happen. We have a common goal to make this building, which is visited by over 1,100 people today, 1,100 people a day, and today, actually, this building saw over 1,300 people. And we'll tell you, all of them got waited on in 7 minutes or less. But we want to continue to make this one of Publix homes. The Tax Collector's family is very proud to be in this building and will continue to work to bring a little bit of the Publix magic in everything that we do. I'm not sure if Mr. George ever imagined this building becoming a tax collector's office, where, as you know, paying taxes is a pleasure. But I know he is happy with his family and our community and what we've done to recognize his vision and keeping it alive today. Gregory.
Thank you all for coming out here, especially on a summer evening, even though we're in November. But that just shows how much the community is so attached to the great work that Joe Tedder and all his staff at the tax collector's been doing for, what, 22 years now? So this is a great place for service. We've all pretty much been in here many times, and the fact that it used to be a Publix building makes it even more special. And ever since there were talks about relocating the structure for the tax collector here in Lakeland, and this location was chosen, I almost couldn't believe that, because it is much easier to build something new out on County Line Road or somewhere else. But I really appreciate what Joe and his team have done here, taking a chance and redeveloping, and also spearheading the master plan for making Massachusetts Avenue another, once again, a viable corridor for the city of Lakeland. And Joe Tedder with his team and the renovation of this building, repurposing it, was the main anchor for this area, even before all the nice projects that the CRA has been involved with, and hopefully that'll bring more private initiative to the area. This is a great way into town. It's a straight shot from exit 33 on I-4. It can be really beautiful once other buildings start to gentrify around here, like we've seen here with the former Publix, now the tax collector's office. So what happened was, when news broke that that the current shopping owners of the old Searstown Publix had painted over the original mural mosaic by John Barth, the original artist, basically Joe and I got together and decided that perhaps the best place for it would be in a former Publix building that was being brought to new use as a tax collector's office. So we looked at the intricacies of that, and we just didn't have enough covered shaded space to provide for the mural to move over here. So what happened was, I was going back and forth with some emails with another great resource, not only for Publix, but for the entire community here, which is Jennifer Bush, and she gave me some insight about another mural, another mosaic that had been created in Fort Lauderdale in the 1960s, and correct me if I'm wrong, that must have been the first one. And then the Searstown mosaic was the second one, done in about 1963 or something. Perfect. So there was an original Publix store that had two mosaics similar to what you see in Searstown now. They were angled differently though. They were at a 90 degrees angle. And we were fortunate enough to have good images of one of the sections of that mosaic. So Jennifer was kind enough to share her archives with us, and we're able to have those images. And then what happened was Joe put us in contact with platform art director Cynthia Haffey, and she directed us to another great resource who is here today, the artist who actually put everything together. That's Tim Pitzen. And we worked on resizing and reconfiguring the mosaic to fit the areas where it would make sense on this building. And that's what happened. It was about a several months process to determine the best way to do that. Tom was also very creative. He was able to locate all the tile to best match the colors that we're going to see in a few minutes, and hand cut every single tile to about an inch and 3/4 is what you're going to see outside. So that was a very interesting and challenging process. We're glad it all worked out as we had hoped it would. So I think that's going to be a really good addition to the building today. The only challenge for Joe and his team is, since he always encourages people not to come here for business, if you can get your tax business done online, it's going to be even harder on top of the great service you get here not to come here. So that might be something that has to deal with. But other than that, we're excited. We're finally able to showcase these items, and we'll be working with another renovation crew to see how we can remove the Searstown mosaics. And the idea was to put them somewhere downtown, but a few nights ago someone mentioned, well, there's a tremendous investment going on for Bonnet Springs Park, so would that be a good place for that? Well, I guess we'll just have to see if that fits in the master plan. But at any rate, Publix was ahead of its time when it created those mosaics to give customers an even greater shopping experience. And I guess they were just so innovative that to some extent they predated everything we're doing today as far as public art and recreating places of value, of interest for the community to gather in areas downtown that have been in decline for so many decades. So that is exactly what's going on here. We're seeing a lot of momentum, not just through this neighborhood, but other areas along the Massachusetts corridor, and I think that's pretty much going to be the future. Redevelopment, you're going to see a lot of that going on here. So we're happy, we're excited, we're proud to have had a really good working relationship with Joe Tedder and his team. So we're very thankful for that. And thanks to everyone for beating the weather and coming out here to see this. Thank you.
This time I'd like to ask Jennifer Bush to come up, the Publix historian, to give you a little bit more background as well.
Well, we really are getting, when it comes to history, 2 for the price of 1 tonight. As you've already heard, most of you know this was a former Publix store. Actually, it was one of the first Publix stores that George Jenkins built from the ground up in those early days here in Lakeland. When it was constructed in 1953, it was known as the Masterpiece Market of the 1950s, the Masterpiece Market. And it really was, as Gregory said, it was Mr. George's idea to incorporate beauty and art into his store designs. It was all about the customer. We're here today to pay tribute to one of the most famous examples, I think, of beauty and artistry in Publix stores. Now let me kind of give you a little bit of background on how this whole mural thing even came about. We have to go way back to the late 50s, and Mr. George traveled extensively. He was always looking for new ideas and ways to improve his stores. He was on a trip in California, and he happened to be passing a building, and he noticed it had this beautiful tile mosaic mural, and he was fascinated by it. Something about that struck him. And so he decided, at the time we were getting ready to start construction on a store in Fort Lauderdale. This was close to 1961. He decided that what a great idea to incorporate that beauty into one of his new stores. Okay, Fort Lauderdale. So he went around in California, located the artist, a gentleman by the name of John Garth, as you've heard, famous artist, and he talked to Mr. Garth about coming to Florida and developing some kind of beautiful artistic work to beautify. That was Mr.